Hey guys, in this tutorial we are going to build a simple project management system from scratch using Django, and I'm going to use Tailwind for the design. I haven't made anything for this tutorial yet, so you will be able to follow along all the way. All I've done so far is to set up a to-do list, as you can see here. So this is just a little bit to help me and give you a little glance of what we actually are building. I will start by setting up some of the templates and then head over to Django, where we will implement authentication, learn about database models, ORM and similar. And at the end I will deploy this project to a cloud-based service called Acorn. I will add a link in the description below. You can sign up for a free account yourself, and if you want to try out their pro plans you can do this for free as well. You can just ask them for as long as they are in beta, which will be until March or April 2024. Plus, in the description below I will also add a link that you can actually test out the project you're going to build in this tutorial yourself. All you need is a GitHub account and a free account at Acorn. Anyway, it's time to get started with the coding. Okay, so we can begin with the base template. I created a folder called Pizarra, which is the name of this project. So then I just want to create a new folder here called templates, and then in here we can call this base.html. So this will be the menu and a little bit more like that. So I'm just going to use Tailwind for this project. So if I just Google Tailwind CSS, go into installation and then the play CDN. So I'm not going to bother installing Tailwind CSS and similar. If you want to learn how to do that, I have a few videos where I have done that. So let me just make a copy of this. Go back and save, and then I want to fix the indentations here like that, and then I can just save this and open up in the browser just so that it's easier to test. Base.html. Okay, so at the top I want to have a simple menu, so we can begin by creating that. So nav class. And here I want some space at the top and bottom and also on both of the sides. So py 6 and px 8. I can set the background to be bg slate 800, which I think is a dark gray color. You can check it out. Yes, so it's dark or bluish. And then on the left side I want to have a the name of the project. So you can call this h1 Pizarra. You can call it whatever you want, of course. Add some styling to this as well. You can add that the color of the text should be white, so text white. And we want to have a font size a little bit large. So text 3XL. I think that should be okay. Maybe a little bit too big. Let's stick with just XL. Okay, so then this is then the link to the front page and similar. And then on the right side here, I want a simple menu where you can go to the About page, but also Login and Sign Up button. So here I can create a new div. Just empty classes for now. And then we can create a link, a href. This can go to nothing right now. About. So if I save this now and refresh, you'll see that it appears below here, if you actually can spot it. So I want to move it over here. And to do that, I need to introduce flexbox. So on this nav box here, I can say flex and save. And then it was moved to the next to there. But I want these to be on the same line, at least. To do that I can say align, items center, so they are centered next to each other. You can see that there's a line in the middle of these, where these are connected. And then I want all the available space to be between these. To do that we just say justify-between. Save and refresh. And we can see About is there, Pizarra is there. We need to make this white as well, so you can actually see this. So class text-white. And save. Nice. Next to this, I want the button for login and sign up. So href can just be empty for now. Class. And since I want this to be a button, we need some spacing. So py4 and px8 and bg. This is then the login button, so that doesn't have to stand out like the sign up button. So this can just be bg slate 600 and have the text white as well. Log in, save and refresh. Okay, so we need some space between these, I think. So on this one, I can say class space dash x4. Yes, that's better. So anyways, I know that this project doesn't look good, but that's not the point of this tutorial anyways. I want to teach Django now, so. Okay, let's go back here, create the sign up button as well. Copy this, replace the title with sign up, and then we need a different background color. For example, sky, so it's a blue button. Nice. Okay, so that is the base template for now. When you are logged in, these buttons will be switched out with, for example, projects and similar. And then we should have a very simple footer. In here, we just need a main. I don't want to add anything here now. Main. And then a simple footer. So footer, p copyright, c 2023 code with Stein. If I save this now, it does not look good. So we can fix that by giving some spacing and background to this one. py8, px8, so it's the same space on the sides as the navigation bar. And the bg can be a little bit darker than the menu, so we can say bg slate 900. And then on the paragraph, we can say text white. And I also want this to be centered on the screen, so text center. Save and refresh. And now we have it here at the bottom. Nice. Maybe we should add some padding on this as well, just so that we have it, and that can be the default. So class py6 px-8. Nice. Okay. So let's now create a very simple front page. I'm not sure what I want to have on the front page, but we can create a new file just so that we have it. Front page. Save it as front page or index, which might make more sense. Front page, like that. Maybe we can take a very quick header here. So header, class py12 px. No, we don't have to have anything there, but it can be text center. And then in here, h1 class text3xl, welcome to Pizarra. Okay, so now we have a very simple there. Let's add the background to this as well. bg slate 200. Okay, nice. So I don't want to just keep adding some random content here, so I can just continue to the about page. So just copy everything here, paste it, save it as about.html. Here I don't want a header, so let's remove that. Now we can say about, and the size can be the same. Just check out about.html. And then below here we just want some random information. So let's add some lorem ipsum blah blah blah. Save. We can have 2 paragraphs. And then maybe a div class space dash y6 so that we have some space between these paragraphs. Save. Go back and refresh. And we need some space between these two as well. So this can say margin, empty 6 for margin top 6, like that. No, this is, okay, this is Latin, but never translate. Okay, So let's just jump back to the to-do list. Set this to done. This can be done. This can be done. Now we need a simple template for logging in and signing up. So we can copy this again, create a new file, save it as login.html. And here I want a box more centered on the screen. So div class max width XL, and then a max auto bg slate 800. We can see what this looks like. Can remove this box here, indent, close that, save, and go here, change to login and refresh. Okay, so you can clearly see that this says about here. There are no spacing or anything in there, so we need to fix that. But I can say text center, and this can be text white, and replace this with login. Save, refresh. So now it's centered and the title is correct, but we need some space in here. So PY8. Great. And then we need a place to fill in your email address and the password and click sign up. So below the title here, we can create an empty form tag, label username or email, break line, and then input type email, class with full bg slate 500, text white, and we also need some spacing in here, so py4 px6. You can see what this looks like. Not good. You can't see this, and this was a little bit too wide. You can set some padding on this to separate it. Class px6, no, px8. And I also want a div for each of the elements or fields in this form. So close it, save and refresh. And then we need to make this white. So class text white, and we need some space between these, so this form can have an empty -6 as well, and refresh. Okay, so then we need one more for the password, so copy this, rename the label to password, the type should also be password, save and refresh. And we need some space between these that can be placed on this one, space -y 4, yes. Nice. And then last but not least, the login button. So I can copy the code from the button we have up in the menu, this one. Just create a new div, button, class, login, and save. So if I refresh now, I have a very simple login form ready. So this can just be copied, so we can use it for the sign up. Just copy, paste, save the file as signup.html, replace the title to sign up, and the button should also be sign up. Here we need 2 password fields, so this can be renamed to repeat password. Okay, that was actually it here, so I can just go here now, rename to sign up, and then we have the sign up form as well. Perfect. So now I can set this to done. Now we just have 2 more templates before we are ready to dive into some Django. So then I need a list page for listing out projects. Let's make a copy of this about page, copy paste and say list.html. I can remove this one and rename this to projects. So if I now go back and then list.html. Then below here I want a list of projects that I can click and work on, but I also need a button here for creating new projects. So below the title, I can make a copy of this button here again. And then we can say add project, and then we can add a space here and b-6. So that's default on the title. Add project. You can see here that wasn't so much space. That's because this is an inline element. But if I say inline block instead, then it's moved and the space in here is not added to the margin bottom, or subtracting from the margin bottom. And then below here, a list of projects. So div class empty-6, so there's some space up there. We can have a grid for listing out 4 and 4 projects, a grid, and we need to set how many columns. I forgot how to do that. Tailwind, CSS, grid. Jesus, how can you forget? Grid calls, of course. Grid calls 4 and gap 4, so it has a space between each of the projects. And then in here I just create one box per project, div class bg slate 200, and then in here we can have a title h2 project title, and this also needs some padding, so py6 px6, and this can be class text xl. And then below here we can have a little description, so p short project description. That was a typo, but we don't care. Class text sm and text slate 600, so it's not too visible. I want some space between these as well, so mb-4 and save. So that's how we can list out the project. Yeah, that will do for now. I can duplicate the project a little bit just so that we see that the grid is working. Refresh. Yes, nice. This should be not very mobile friendly, but that is also not a part of this. Maybe I can do that in a follow-up video. Okay, so for the to-do list, I can set this to done. By the way, this is almost how the project page will look as well, where we list out the to-do lists for a certain project. So now just the detail page left to build. Just want to close a few of these. So if I copy everything here, save this as detail.html, then I can remove this projects list like that. For example, task title, and then here we want the description for the project. This is the description for the task, not the project, of course. Maybe there should be some more details, and here we can say set as done, mark as done, maybe mark as done, and maybe a delete button as well. Delete, and we want an edit button. Edit. So done can be, for example, emerald. Edit can be sky, and this can be amber, which is sort of a reddish color. Let's test this. Detail. Yes, that looks okay. Need some space between these. So class empty-6, save and refresh. So that is how the project is going to look like. Okay, just need a sip of my cola. Okay, so let's go to the to-do list and set the last care task to done, and now we should be finished with creating the templates. So now I want to set up a dev environment. So locally now we are just going to use a typical virtual environment, and then at the end of this project we're going to deploy this to Acorn, where you can test the project online, and you can send the link to your friends, family and similar. They can test it, and it will run for free for 2 hours before it's automatically deleted, and you can deploy again how many times you want, all for free. Okay, so let's start with the dev environment. So I go to the terminal, then I'm here in the base folder where I have my to-do list and the templates folder. And to create a virtual environment, I just say Python 3-m venv, and then the name, which can just be env, which is suitable. And when this is created, I can activate it by saying source env bin activate. Then you can see here before my username CWS that it is activated because I can see the name there. If I want to deactivate it, I can just say deactivate. Okay, so activate it again. And now that this is activated, I can install Python packages by saying pip install. And all packages I install now will be created just for this environment and not for other things on my Mac. So let's install Django, which will then install the newest version of Django, which should be Django 5. Maybe it's because I have an old version of pip, but it doesn't matter. 4 and 5 are very similar, so if you have Django 5, you should still be able to follow along. So then we have the dev environment. We can then create a new empty project. So Django-admin start project Pizarra and hit enter. So I can go into this. Then you have the typical manage.py and the subfolder, which is also named the same as the project, with the ASGI, WSGI, which is just entry points for the web server, URLs, which is sort of like the table of contents for the whole project, settings.py, which is global configuration for the project. Done. I hope I don't go too fast forward now. If you're very beginner at Django, you might want to start with some other projects, but I hope you are able to follow along. So then I want to create the first app, which should be the core app, which should have pages like the front page, the about page and similar. So let's create it. Python manage.py start app core. And then we need to open up settings.py and tell Django that we're going to use this app. So in the list of installed apps, we add core. And now Django knows that it's installed, and that we're going to use it. And now Django will automatically, for example, find template folder in this app and similar. So, go back here, set this to, no, it's not done, because now I'm going to create the front page. Okay. So, in Pizarra, in core, I'm going to create a new folder called templates. And since we added core to the settings file, it will automatically find or look for a folder called templates in this app. And then in here, I want to create a new subfolder called core. And that is to separate other templates folder from the other apps. Then in here, we can set up base.html, and I can just copy everything that I had here, paste it, and save. Great. So let's then create the view. Open up views.py and just say def index, pass in the request parameter, you might want to call this front page or whatever you want. Index is very suitable for this purpose. Return a render a request. Pass in the template we want to use, which is core/index.html, and save. This doesn't exist yet, so maybe I should just create it before I continue. Index.html, front page, and here I want the contents of this main, so I can copy these 3 lines, paste it here, and then I want this template to use the base.html template as well, but I will come back to that. Right now, I just want to create a new file called urls.py inside this app, because it's much better to have a separate URLs file for each of the apps in a project. That makes much more sense and it's more clean this way. And to be able to use this, I need to import something from Django. So from Django.urls import path. This is to generate a path to this specific view. And then I want to import all of the views. So from import views, and then we can set up the URL patterns. So here I just pass in one by saying path, and when the URL is empty, I want to use views.index, and we can give this the name of index as well. So it's very great or good to have index for the front page, but what if we had index in a different app as well? We can separate this by setting something called the app name to core. So then we have a very simple namespace for this URL that we can separate the different apps from each other. So last thing I need to do now before we can test this is to open up urls.py, just to remove this comment, and import a new function called include from Django as well. Then we need to import these URLs here, path. So when the URL is empty, we want to go into this list of URL patterns and see if any of them matches. So include core.urls. And now we are ready to test. So Python managed by run server. I get a warning here because we haven't run migrations yet, but don't worry, we will come back. Now I can open up this in the browser and you will see welcome to Pizarra. Nice. Problem now is that this comes from the index.html file. So how can I get this code inside this? I can extend like that, extends core/base.html and save. If I go back now, refresh, I will get the menu, the main and the footer, but this code is gone. And to get this code inside here, I need to create a code block. So, block content and block. You can call this whatever you want, it's just that content makes sense because this is where you put the content of a page. Fix indentation and block and save. Refresh, and there we have the front page in Django. Nice. Okay, so I can go to the to-do list again, set this to done. Before I continue, I just want to say thanks to all of my patrons. If you too want to support me, you will find a link in the description below. Next, create the About page. Let's begin with the view for this. So, core views.py, def about request, now we return and render a template, core/about.html, and save. So then we need to tell the URLs file to use this. So when the URL is about / we want to use views.about. I can use the name of about as well. So if I go back to the browser now and go to /about, you will see that I get the template does not exist. which is okay because we haven't created it yet. Let's do that now by opening up. I'll go into the core, create a new file called about.html. And then I can go find the template down here and copy these lines, everything inside this main tag. Paste it. Still, this will not work because here we also need to say extends core/base.html, and we need to use the block content here. Fix the indentation and block and save. So if I refresh now, the error is gone and we can see the about page. So now I just want to make these two clickable so that we can actually navigate. So if I go back here, we want to use a built-in function called URL that comes from Django, and to point to the URLs file and to this specific view, we want to use this name and this app name. So URL, then we pass in core:about. And the same thing goes for this one. Create a href, paste in core:index, close it after there and save. Refresh. So now we should be able to click. Oops. Okay, I had one too many there, and there should be percentage, and close it properly. Go back and refresh. I can click this now, and I can click this now. Perfect. So then I can go to the to-do list again and set this to done and save. So now we can start working a little bit more with Django. And specifically, I want to create a customized user database model because I want to be able to use email as the username instead of the typical username. So to do this, I want to create a new app. So just stop the web server, say Python, mention.py, start app account. And then we need to tell Django about this. Not about file, but the settings file, of course. And here we can call this not about, no, account. There. You don't have to do this alphabetically, it's just that I like to do it that way. So let's set up the database model for the user. I want to import a few new things here. Import UUID because I like to use UUIDs for the ID or primary keys. And then I need to import a few more things from django.contrib.auth.models import abstract base user and permissions mixin and user manager because I want to either override these or extend them. Okay, I don't think I need to import anything more right now. So first I want to create a new custom user manager. Usually when we get things in Django, we say for example user.objects.all. Then the user manager is this objects. And I want to override this because I want to do some changes to the database model so that we can use email and that we can have a name field instead of first name and last name and similar. So let's create a new class and name this custom user manager. Pass in user manager because we're going to use this class. And then we want to create a new method called create user. Pass in self, name, email and password, and also extra fields if there are any. And then we can say if not email, so we can do a very simple validation here. Then we say erase value error and then give this a little information that will show in the console. You do not you did not provide an valid email address. So then we can have some simple validation here for the email. And then we can normalize this and set the password and a little bit like that. So email equals self.normalize email. This function is then built into the user manager and will remove spacings and a little bit things like that. We just pass in the email from the parameters here. User equals self.model email equals email, name equals name, and pass in the extra fields like that. And then when the user now is created, we can set the password. So user.set password. This is also a function built in to the user manager that we are just extending like that. And then user.save using equals self.db. So we are telling it how to use the database for saving like that. And then we can return the user as well. So when you use this function, you get the user you created in return. Now we need one more method here, def create user. This is then the method that we are going to use in, for example, the terminal when we create super users. Pass in self, name equals none, so we default these values. Email equals none, and password equals none, and the extra fields. And then here we want to set the isStaff default to false and isSuperUser to default false. So extra fields dot set default isStaff, because we don't want regular users to be able to log into the admin interface and similar. False, and extra fields dot set default is super user, also default is to false. And then we return, and then we use this method as well. So return self dot create user, pass in name, email, password, and the extra fields like that. Oops, extra fields. And to be able to create a super user in the terminal, we need to create a method for this. So def create super user. Oops, don't want to use that. Create super user, pass in self, name equals none, email equals none, password equals none, and the extra fields like that. And then here we can just make a copy of these lines, because here we actually want to set this default to true. This one should be default true, and then we just reuse this method up here. So save. There should be no errors because the server isn't running or anything. But now we can create the actual user model which we are going to use. So below this class we create a new class user, and we pass in the abstract base user because we want to use some of that functionality, and also the permission mixin. We want one field for the ID, so ID equals models.uuid field, pass in primary key equals true because this is the PK or the primary key. Set default to be uuid.uuid4, and editable equals false because we don't want to make it possible to edit this in the admin interface and similar. The email can just be a models.email field. Unique, set this to true because we don't want to have more than one user per email address. And then the name can be models.char field. Max length for this can be set to 255, and blank equals true and null equals true, so that in case you don't want to have this filled out by the user. And now we set is active, which is a boolean field, models.boolean field, set this default to true, because when you sign up we want you to be active. And then is super user, this can also just default to false. This is in case we create a user in a view where we don't use this functionality. And is staff equals models.boolean field as well, default this to false. Great. So maybe you also want to know when the user joined. So date joined equals models.date time field, and we can say auto now add equals true, so then this would just be filled in automatically. And last login model.date time field, so that you can know when the user most recently used his account. Blank equals true and null equals true. In case you create an account and don't log in, this will not be filled out. And then to use this user manager we just created, we can say objects equals custom user manager. And then we can specify which username field to use. So username field equals email, and email field, that is this one, so email, and required fields equals user list, fill the name, because if not the super user and similar will not be able to be created. Nice. So then we should have this model, and before I run the migrate and similar, I want to go into settings and just tell Django that we're going to use this specific model for the user. So to do that we say auth user model equals account.user. So this is then the app name and this is the model name. So if I save now, I should be able to go here and say Python mention.py make migrations. Okay. Type object user has no attribute user field. Username field. Okay. That is weird. Okay, sorry, this should be in tuples like this. Maybe it will work then. Yes, so now it says create model user, and I will say Python mention.py migrate. So now if I run ls, we should have the database there. Perfect. Okay, so then I can go to the to-do list, set this to done, and now I want to make it possible to sign up. So to do that, we can create a new view inside this account app. Def sign up, pass in the request parameter, and then I want to use some built-in functionality from Django, I think. But before I go down that route, I can just return render, pass in the request parameter, and set the template to be account/signup.html and save. And then I also want a separate URLs file for this app, so urls.py from Django.urls import path from .import views, set app name to be account, and then we create the URL patterns path, and when this is sign up, we want to use views.signup. I can set the name to be sign up. So then this will be able to go to this by saying account : sign up. So if I open up base.html there, we can activate this button by saying URL account : sign up. So I will get an error now if I go back and refresh. Okay, the error is that I haven't run the server again. Refresh, and then account is not a registered namespace. Okay, so if I open up urls.py inside the Pizarra main, then we need to include it here first. So path, when this is empty, include, and then account.urls. Save. Refresh. And then I should be able to click this, and then I get that this is not created. That's okay. But anyway, if the URLs is now sign up, it will first check if this is matching. No. Is this matching? No, but it will go in to the URLs there, check all of the URLs there, and then it will go down there, where it will find this URL, not that one, but the one we just created, this one. Okay, so let's create the template. Create the folder, templates, create a folder in there, account, and then the template signup.html, extend the core/base.html file, block content, close this, and block, and then we open up signup.html and this templates folder that we created in the beginning of this video, copy everything that's inside this main tag, and paste it, save it, refresh. Okay, that did not work. Why not? It is in the correct folder. Maybe I need to stop and start sometimes. Yes, that is what I had to do. And that also reminds me that I need a name field here as well. So we can copy this. We have the name at the top. Name, input type text, refresh. And then we have all of the 4 fields that we are going to need. So this form will not work right now. It will not work before we include the CSRF token, first of all, for security. And then we need to set up the method to be post. Oops. And where we should post this form to. So action can be dot, which is the page that we are on. So then I can go back to views.py, not that one. Let me just close a few of these files so it's easier to follow here. There should be the correct one. And then here I can check if the form has been submitted by saying if request.method equals post, then print post, else print just show the form. So if I go back here now, refresh, go to the terminal, just show the form. But if I click sign up, go back here, you can say post. So then I can get this information in the back end. But before I get it, I need to set the name for the different fields. So this should be name, and then name, email, and name, password 1, and we can have password 2, name, password 2. So if I go back here now, then in here I can say print request.post, so we can see the information that has been posted here. Sign up. Okay. Go here now, we can see here that we got this CSRF middleware token, but nothing of the other fields. So let me just do a hard refresh, try again. Oops, sign up, go back here, and now we can see that we got the name, the email, and the passwords. Nice. So that means that now I can create a user based on this information. Let me just go back here now, so if I refresh, it won't be sending in again. So then we can get the name by saying name equals request.post.get name. Default is to empty. We want the email request.post.get email. And password 1 request.post.get password 1. Default is to empty. Copy and replace. We can just do that. If name and email and password 1 and password 2. So we know that we have all of the information that we need. Pause. Else print something went wrong. So I'm not going to do that part right now at least. But now we should have all of this information so we can create a user. We just want to import the model we have created. So from .models import user. And we can say user equals user.create user. So now we point to this function where we need to pass in the name, the email, and the password. So then I can just say name, email, and password 1. Print user created :user. And then we can redirect the user to the login page, which doesn't exist yet, but we can redirect him there anyway. So return redirect /login. So get a warning here because this isn't defined, but we can import it as a shortcut from Django. From Django.shortcuts, import render, but also redirect. So let's try it now. Name Stein, email code with stein@gmail.com, and then a password. Let's choose a very safe one. Sign up. Type object user has no attribute. Create user. .objects. Of course, I need to point to that one. If I refresh now, the form will be resubmitted, and then I was redirected there, which means that it was probably working. Nice. So next step then is to make it possible to log in. So let's begin with the view, def login, pass in the request parameter, return render request, pass in account/login.html, and then we can create the URL path login/views.login, and the name should also be login. So now we can activate this in the base.html, just so that is working. That was the wrong base. It has to be this one in the core app. URL account:login. Save. And then if I refresh, not there, but there, then I get that the template does not exist. Okay. So make a copy of the sign up file, paste it, and save it as login.html. Then we can remove the repeat password, rename the first one to just password, rename the title of the button to log in. We want the email, but we do not want the name, and the title of the page can also be renamed to log in, and save. And refresh. Nice. If I try to do anything here now, it will submit to this page, but we haven't done anything in the back end. So then we can do the same thing here. If request.method is post, then we need to get the email by doing this. We want to get the password by doing this, and we just need to rename this. And we can say if email and password password, pass. So then how can we authenticate manually a user in Django? Let's ask Google how to manually authenticate a Django user. Use authenticate, okay. Blah blah blah. Okay, let's go to Stack Overflow. Always so many good answers. So that's how you authenticate it, but I also think you need to log him in, manually authenticate and log in a Django user. Maybe just go to here again. There you can see. So this is how you log him in after he is authenticate. But I didn't tell you what. I usually always authenticate and then log in. Because you can't use this before. Okay, so let's do the authenticate. Just need to know how to import this. So I guess we can get that from the Django documentation. Import authenticate. Copy this, go back here, paste it at the top. So this is alphabetically. User equals authenticate. Then we use the function we just created. Here we need to pass in username. I think I can pass in email now, which should point to this one. The password is also password. Maybe this needs to be username, but we can test this. Print user, save. Let's refresh and see what I have submitted. User none. But what if I use the user I created, login? Then you can see that it is actually a user. Nice. So then we can log him in as well. Or maybe we should try to not do that and see if it is working. So print request.user and print request.user.is authenticated. Maybe it actually is working this way. Whoops. Refresh again, continue, go back here. Anonymous user, yes, because I haven't been logged in. Okay, but what if I need to import the login? How to log in user? That is the same namespace to import from. Just paste it at the end there. And then to log him in, you do this. We check that the user actually exists. Okay, we can pass in the request parameter just so that is done. If user, then we use the login, indent this, and we can try again. And when that is done, we can redirect the user to the front page. Return redirect /. So if I now refresh, hopefully I will be redirected. Nope. Login takes one positional argument, but two were given. Okay. Let's copy this. Django. See what I have done wrong. Okay, yes, of course, because this will try to use this here and not this one. So I can say as auth view or auth login instead. So it's redirected as something else. Refresh, and now I was redirected to the front page, and here I can say that this is the user and that I am authenticated. Perfect. I can just remove this and save. So now we have sign up and we have log in. Nice. So now we are ready to start working with the projects. So for this we need a new app. So Python mentioned.py start app project, and then we need to tell Django about this. So in the list here, just append project. Then we can create the database model for this. So if I just find project models.py. Then I know that I want to connect this to the user we have just created. So from account.models import user. Then we say class project. Maybe we should use UUID here as well. So I can copy the ID field there. Pass in models.model. Like that. And then at the top here, just import UUID. And a project should have a name, so models.char field, set the max length to be 255. This shouldn't have to be filled out, so we can't add the blank and null. We want a simple description, models.text field. This should be not required, so blank equals true and null equals true. And then we want to know who created this, so created by equals models.foreign key, pass in the user object here, set the related name to be projects. So it's very easy to find all of the projects connected to a specific user. If we delete a user, we can also delete all of the projects that this user has. So then we just say models.cascade. So we can also set up the string representation here, self, so that it looks better, for example, in the admin area and similar. So return self.name and save. So let's update the database by running make migrations and migrate and run the server again. So now that I am authenticated, I do not want to show these two buttons. I want to have a link to the projects page instead. So let's open up base.html, do that first. Then we can here say if request.user.is authenticated. Then we want to show that. If not, we show these two buttons, because then the user needs to get or be authenticated. And if, then I can make a copy of the sign up button. We don't have a URL for this yet, so it can just be like that, but replace the title with projects and refresh. So now we have this instead. Nice. So let's create the view for the projects list. Def projects. Pass in the request parameter, return render request parameter, and then the template name, which will be project/projects.html, and save. Here I also want a URLs file, so urls.py from Django.urls import path from .import views, and set up the app name to be project, and then the URL patterns, which is a list path. And when this is empty, I want to use views.projects name projects, comma. So I use empty here because I want inside the main URLs to have a path, and when every URL that begins with project or similar will go into this one instead. Oops. Include project.urls and save. So then I think I can activate this button. URL project, which is the name of the app, and then project, which is the view, or the URL name at least. Refresh, click and then send here, and telling me that the template does not exist. So that will be the next project, sorry, next task. Templates, project, and then the template itself, projects.html. I can open up the other projects file, sorry, the list.html. Copy everything inside the main, close, paste it, and then we need to extend the base template here as well. So extends core/base.html, block content, fix the indentation, and block, save, refresh. Maybe I need to stop and start again. Yes, so now we have that page as well, but these are not dynamic, so we can remove all except one, and then we have the for loop here. So for project in projects, fix the indentation and close the end for loop. We can show the correct name, project.name, and then the description, project.description, like that. But now this is empty because we don't have any projects. So that will then be the next task to do. Actually, before I go to the next task, which is make it possible to create projects, we can fix it here first. So from .models import project. Then we can say projects equals project.objects.filter where created by equals request.user. And to go to this view, you have to be authenticated, and to make that happen, we can just add the decorator here called login required. Just need to import this from django.contrib.auth.decorators import login required, and we need to pass this into the front end. So projects or projects and save. Still empty though, because we haven't added anything, but that is the next task. So to-do list, set this to done. Then we can continue setting things, make it possible to create a project. Okay, so let's begin with a simple view for this. So here we also want to make the user be authenticated. So login required. Excuse me. Then def create or add project. Pass in the request parameter if request.method is post. Just pass this for now. And then return a render request. Pass in the template, which should be here, project/add.html. Save. Copy this name. Go. No, you don't need to copy it. Add it here. Add/views.add project name add. So I can just use add because we have this app name here anyway, so it's easy to just say project:add. So I don't need to worry about using this for the to-do lists and the tasks as well. So then we can activate this button here. URL project:add. Save, refresh, click it, and then we get template does not exist. Okay. So this template will be a mix between the list page and the authentication forms. So anyways, just add.html. Then I can copy this, paste it, and say add project, and block save, refresh, and then we have it here. So then here I want to make it possible to fill in the name and the description for this project. So if I just open up, for example, sign up, then I can make a copy of the form. Just take the whole form and then modify it instead. Can take away one of this, replace this with name, input type text. Name is also name, so that I can access it in the form, in the backend. This has to be a text field, so text area, name, description. Close it. Rename the label to description, and the button can say submit instead. So if I save now, refresh. This is white. We need to change the color, so we can just remove the class like that. That is better. There is some padding there I don't want. Nice. What else? Okay, I need to add the CSRF token and save. So now I'll be able to use this, but we just need to accept the data here. So name equals request.post.get name. And I default this to empty in case there is something wrong with the submission and we don't want to accept this. And then the description request.post.get description. And so if name else pass or print not valid, then you have to do something here, which is not going to be handled right now. Then I can say project equals project.objects.create, pass in the name, should be name, description is description, and created by equals request.user. And when that is done, we can redirect the user back to the project list or directly to a project. I think we can just do to the project list for now. So return redirect /projects. Then I get a warning here. So import is up there. And I don't need to assign this to a variable, so I can just do it like this. So let's try this. First project. This is the description. Oops. Submit. Okay, you can see here there is something wrong because this wasn't supposed to be added there. I think I forgot to add because I copied the wrong templates. So this is the method post, and action can be the page we are on. So just do a hard refresh. First project, and then a simple description, submit, and then I redirect it here, and now you can see the project is actually listed out here. Nice. So now we are able to create project, list out project, which means that I can head back to my to-do list and set this to done. Next step, the project detail page. So in project, open up views. I want to have this here, so we want to log in required def project, pass in request, and the PK, because here we need to get the URL parameter for the primary key so that we can get a specific project. So project equals, then I want to use the same thing as up here because I only want to get project that your user has created, and then .get pk equals pk, which comes from the URL. Then I can just copy this, rename to project, rename to project, rename to project, and save. So this is going quickly. Let's create or edit here as well, path, and when this includes something called a UUID, so we are expecting a UUID here called PK, and this name PK is the same that we put in here. So you can call it whatever you want, but this makes sense. Then views.project name project and save. So how can you go to this now? Maybe you should be able to click the whole thing. So if I just open up projects.html, create a link around all of this, ahref, URL project, project, and then here we need to pass in the ID for this project, or just project.id, close this one, and paste this there and save. So now we have an anchor tag around the whole thing. So if I click this now, I was redirected to this URL, and I get the information that the template is not, and does not exist. Okay. So let's copy this again, save it as project.html. Here we can show the title or the name of the project, project.name. We don't want to add the project here, this should be for the to-do list. So add to-do list, and for to-do list in to-do lists, we want to show this to-do list.name and to-do list.description. And we want to have the detail page there, but we don't have that for now, so this can just be empty. If I refresh now, I will see the name of the project. I can add to-do lists, soon at least, and then down here I want to list out all of the to-do lists. But at least this is then the detail page for now. So then I can set this to done, and then I want to make it possible to edit a project. So can copy the top here. I want this below here. Edit project, request primary key, and we want to get the project from the database just so that we have it. And then we get this information from the front end. If name, then we can say project.name equals name, project.description equals description, and project.save. And then we can redirect the user back to the projects list again, like that. And last but not least, we want to say, you can actually copy these 3 lines and paste it there, edit, and save. So that is the whole view for editing a project. Let's edit here, copy, paste, and then just append edit at the end, edit project, and edit. Actually, this can just be called edit, and this can just be called add. And we can do rename here, edit, so it's a little bit cleaner there. Save, and since that is the name of the templates as well. So then I want this edit button on the project page. I think that in the detail page we created at the beginning, we actually had this button there. So paste, and then I can activate it here, URL project : edit, and pass in project.id and save. So refresh. Now we had edit, add. Okay, add can be then emerald, like that. So if I now click edit, I should be sent here, but I get the warning that it doesn't exist. This will be very similar to the add, so we can copy, paste, and save it as edit.html, edit project, and then this needs a value. Project.name, and the same with this one, it should go in there and not the value attribute. Project.description, save. Let's refresh, and then we can see here, edited, submit. There you see that is actually saved as well, and now we can edit projects. Nice. So we can set this to done. Next step then, make it possible to delete a project. Let me just add one more, blah blah blah. So now I want to make it possible to delete this. So if I go in here, I want to activate and fix this button. We can fix the button first. So we go in the wrong direction or the order. Project:delete, and pass in project.id here as well. Okay. Can fix the URL as well. So we're going in the total opposite direction, delete and delete. See, this is white because we haven't created this yet. But if I go in here again now, can copy these lines, paste it, say delete. Now you just say project.delete. And then we want to return us back to the list of projects and save. So refresh, click delete, and then I was redirected back here, and the project is deleted. Nice. So then I can set this to done. Nice. Okay, so now we have projects as well for this project management system. So now I want to repeat almost everything that I did here just for the to-do lists. So let's begin by creating the app. Python manage.py start app to-do list. Go to settings and tell Django about this to-do list. Save. And then we create the database model for this as well. Oops. So we can begin by importing the database model from account.models import user. We import the user model. And from project.models import project, because I want the link between the to-do list and the project. And then class to-do list models.model. We want to import UUID, so we don't go away from that. And then to copy this, so we want an ID, a name, description. We can actually just copy all of this because the models will be very, very similar. This should just be renamed to do lists and save. So we could add more here later and similar if we wanted to do that. Just need a link between here, the project and this. So project equals models.foreign key. Pass in the project database model, set the related name to to-do lists, and then on delete models.cascade. So if you delete a project, we also delete all of its to-do lists. Okay, so make migrations, migrate, run server. Okay, that was that. So actually I think we should do this so that I have the list page first, or actually the to-do list. Okay, now etulla, as they say in Norwegian. I want the list of to-do lists to be listed out here, of course. So I can actually go here again and do this. We want to make it possible to create a to-do list. So let's begin with the view for this. We want the user to be authenticated, so from django.contrib.auth.decorators import login required, and we want to import the model we just created. So from .models import Todolist, def add request. I think we also need an ID here, so project ID, and then return render request. Then template name, which will be Todolist/add.html, and save for now. Then we can create the URLs file. So urls.py, import here from Django.urls, import path, from .import views, set app name to be Todolist, URL patterns, path, and when this is add, then I want to use views.add, set the name to be add. So then the URL for this will be Todolist:add. We also need to do some other magic here. In the main URLs file, here we can say path projects, and we also want to expect here UUID called primary key. So every time the URL is this, if it's not matched in here, then it will go in here and try to find the add, right for now at least. And then Todolist.urls, save. Hopefully that should be okay now. So if I find the project template, we can activate this add Todolist button, URL Todolist:add. Then we pass in the project.id and save and refresh and click. Okay, add got an unexpected keyword argument primary key. Yes, of course. This was supposed to be project ID. Refresh, and now I got here to the correct place. It's just that the template is missing. We can copy this from here, copy everything, create a new folder, templates, create a new folder again, Todolist, and then in there add.html, paste, save, don't save, change the title first to Todolist, save, refresh, stop, start, refresh. Okay, so now we have this here. Then I just need to handle this in the back end. So go back to here. Then I can get the project first from the server. Just need to add login required here before I forget it. Project equals project.objects filter created by equals request.user get where primary key on the model is project ID. Then I get a warning here because we haven't imported this. So from project.models import project, and then we can send this to the front end in case we need to use it there. Project, and then we can say if request.method is post, then we know that the form has been submitted. Name equals request.post.getName. So we just do this exact same thing here as on the project. So you need to change this if you want different fields and similar for the to-do list than the project, etc. Description, if name, then we can create a new to-do list, equals to-do list. And we point to this model we imported, .objects.create. The project should be pointing to this one, which we get from the database. The name is name, description is description, and created by is request.user. Just like I did there, don't need to assign this. Now we just want to redirect this back to this project page. So return redirect projects slash and then the ID of this project. I want to format this here, and then we can pass in project ID. We can just take this directly from the URL. Remember this slash at the end. Import, redirect, and save. So now this should work, I think. No errors. Try first to-do list, to-do list, submit. Okay, so there was no errors. We posted to the correct page, it looks like. But why is there no to-do lists on the project page? Okay, project. Here we have not pulled this from the database yet, but since we have the project, we can just say project.todolists.all. So then this points to the model in here and to this field here. So if I now refresh, I get an error because we can't use parentheses here. So just all. There. So now we have a to-do list for the project as well. Perfect. So I can set this to done. Next step then, make it possible to go to the detail page of a to-do list. So then I can say at login required def to-do list request project ID, because we need to get this as well, and then to-do list ID, which can just be PK, which makes more sense. And we can get project, and we can get the to-do list from the database, to-do list.objects.get pk equals pk. And since we can also make sure that the filter project equals project, so that we only get to-do lists belonging to this specific project. Return, render, request, template name, to-do list slash to-do list.html. So we just follow the same structure as on projects. Pass in the project in case we want to use it in the template. To-do list, and save. So let's add this here. We can add it at the bottom path. The other part of the URL is already in here. So I have not that one. Let me close that one. This main URLs. So here we get the project UUID, but we also want the other UUID for the to-do list here. So UUID colon PK. Then we want to use views.todo list. Name is to-do list. So then we can activate this here. URL to-do list colon to-do list project.id, but also the to-do list.id. Save, refresh. I can click this, be sent here, and then it's telling me again that the template does not exist. So copy everything here, go down, create a new template, to-do list.html, to-do list. We can just empty out these for now. So I want the edit and delete button, but this should say add task. And then here I can say for task in to-do list.tasks.all. It doesn't exist yet, but it will soon. Here we can say to-do list, task.name and task.description. So it will look exactly the same. So if I refresh now, you can see this same page here. And yes, that is the detail page for now. Actually, maybe we should show the description here somewhere, maybe below there. So p to-do list.description. But let's test to see that it actually exists. So if todolist.description, then we want to render this paragraph, and if, and we want some space below this paragraph as well. So class mb-6. And this should also be on the detail page of a project as well, of course. But rename this to project.description and project.description. Save, refresh. So projects, go in here, you'll see the description, go in here, you'll see the to-do list and the description for this. Perfect. Done. Now I want to make it possible to edit a to-do list. So we can begin with the template, copy, paste, save it as edit.html in the same folder as add and to-do list. Edit to-do list. We want a value here, so value is to-do list.name, and down there to-do list.description. Save. And then we can fix the URL. So copy, append edit at the end, edit and save. And then it's the view for this. So I can copy this here, go at the bottom here, edit, here we want the project ID, the primary key for the to-do list, rename this to edit and save. So then we can activate the button for this, which is this one. URL to-do list : edit, project.id and to-do list.id. Save. Refresh, click edit, and then I'm sent here. First to-do list, nice. And then I just need to handle the submission here in the backend, so I can get this like that. And then I can say to-do list.name equals name, to-do list.description equals description, to-do list.save, and then we can redirect this back to the project page or the to-do list page. I think we should set this to the to-do list, so to-do list.id slash, or I can just say pk, so we get it from directly from the URL. We can try this. Edited, submit, edited. Perfect. Next task, set this to none. Then I want to make it possible to delete a to-do list. So let's create the view, copy, paste, rename the view to delete. Then we can just say to-do list.delete and return, redirect us back to /projects, and then the project ID, project_ID slash, and then we just need to set F there, so we format the string. Then we can fix the URL, copy, replace, and replace, and then we delete. Now we just need to activate the button, this one, URL to-do list : delete, project.id, to-do list.id, and save. Refresh, delete, and then I was sent back to the project. The to-do list is gone, so it was working. Okay, so now we have two to-do lists there and everything seems to be working. Done. Okay, so now we need to do the same thing again for the tasks. So the tasks at least are going to have one more field to the database model because we want to keep track of the status of a task. But we can begin by creating the app. So start app, task. And then we don't want to run the server, but we can go into settings.py and add task there, maybe there to keep these alphabetically. And I can make a copy of this to-do list model because some of the fields are going to be same. So open up task models.py and paste it there. Here I also want to import to-do list.models import to-do list. Rename the class to task. So I want the ID, project name, description created by. This can be renamed to tasks, and I also want reference to the to-do list models.foreign key to-do list. Related name should be tasks, and on delete models.cascade. Okay, so that was the database. No, we want one more field here. We can actually just use a simple boolean for now. Is done equals models dot boolean field. Default this to false and save. So then we can run the make migrations and the migrate script and run server. So the task we are going to do first is to make it possible to create a task. So let's copy this template and go into here, creative templates folder, create the task folder, and then the add template. Add task, name, description. In the add template there it doesn't make sense to have the checkbox for is done, so we can just leave this for now. And we can start by importing the login decorator from django.contrib.auth.models import login decorators login required. And then we use it at login required def add, pass in the request parameter. We want the project ID, we want the to-do list ID, and the not primary key, of course, like that. And then we can just return and render the template for now. Request task/add.html and save. And then create new URLs again, urls.py, and from Django.urls import path, from .import views, app name should be task, and then the URL patterns, path, and when this is add, then we say we want to use views.add, the name is also add again. So if I open up the URLs in the Pizarra folder, then we can say path, and when this is projects / uuid :project _id / uuid : to-do list ID, then we want to go in there again. So then we say include task.urls and save. Okay, so then we can go to the to-do list detail page and just activate the button. So open up to-do list.html and activate this. So URL to-do list, task : add, and here we want to pass in the project.id and the to-do list.id. So we can go to the browser now, go into a to-do list, try to click the add task, and then I'm sent here again. So then we have the template, we have the view, then we just need to handle the creating of the task itself. So if I just go to views.py in the task app, then I can get the project and the to-do list just like we did down here. So copy these two. And instead of saying pk there is a to-do list ID. Then you see I get a warning on these two. So I need to import them. So from project.models, from project.models import project, and from to-do list.models import to-do list, and from .models import task. So then we can create the task if everything is here. So if request.method equals post, then we can say name equals request.post.get name, like that. Get the description the same way, like that, and then we can create the task. So task equals task.object.create. Set the project to be the project that we got from the database, and the to-do list should be the to-do list, and the name is the name, and the description is description, and created by equals request.user. And here as well I don't need to assign it, sorry about that. Then I can redirect this back to the to-do list page. So return redirect /projects/project underscore ID /to-do list underscore ID / pass in the F there and import the redirect like that. Save, and we can test. First task, submit. And then I'm on the to-do list, but there are no there are no tasks. So go back here again, to-do list.tasks.all. Okay, I have an error here. There, I think that will be more correct. Maybe I need to run the make migrations again. Migrate, then run the server, go back and refresh, and then I have the first task there. So that means that now we can create tasks. Nice. So then it's the detail page, add the task and delete task before we head on to uploads and notes. Nice. Okay, so now that we are able to create task, we should also be able to visit a task detail page. So we can begin by creating the view for this. So I just do it in the same view file as the create or add. So we can begin with the login decorator so that we know that the user has to be authenticated. And def detail request. Here we want the project ID and the to-do list ID. So you can just copy this, paste it like that, but here we also want the primary key for the task. Okay, so now that we have the project and we have the to-do list, we can also get the task. So task equals task.objects.filter. So we want to make sure that the project is the project we are on, and that we are on the correct to-do list. So filter to-do list equals to-do list dot get. So then we just get this specific one where primary key equals primary key. And then we can return and render this. So return render request, pass in task /detail.html, or maybe we should call it task now. Let's say detail. And let's pass in the task itself, task. So then can set this task to, save this file and import it to the URLs. So path where we have a primary key, which is a UUID called primary key. Then we want to use views.detail name equals detail and save. So then I can activate this here. So if we just go to Todolist.html, then we can use this link here, URL task :detail, and pass in the project ID. So Todolist.project.id and Todolist.id and the task.id. So close and save, go back and refresh, try to click it. So now we get the template does not exist, which is perfect because that means that everything up until now is working. So let's copy everything in the Todolist.html, find the task app and create a new file, detail.html, and paste it. So the title up here should of course be task.name, and if there is a description we can show that. And right now we can just set this default to be empty because I want to use some of that, and we can remove this and save. So let's refresh. So now we have the title, the description, and buttons. So I want to have one that marks this as done. I want to activate this and this, but at least I think I can go here now. No, setting it as done can be a part of this task actually. So then we can say if request.get is done, default is empty, equals true or yes, then we can set this task to done. Then we just say task.isDone equals true. I think this is what I call that file, is done, yes. Task.save. Maybe we should also show this status somewhere below here. So then we can say p and then a strong class font bold status, and then task.status save. See if that works. No, there is nothing. Is done, of course, false. Maybe we should do like this. If is done, then we print out done, else then the status will be to do. Close, and if. Save and refresh. The status is to do, but I want to now make this clickable. So the page we are on, and then just is done equals yes. So then this will be pulled in here, and if the value of is done is yes, then we set this to done and save, and then we return here again. So we can change the title there, mark as done, refresh. So then the status is done, and if the status is done, then we don't need to show this button anymore. So then we can just do it like this, and if. Save and refresh. If task is done, if not task is done, of course, like that. Nice. So then we have the possibility to do that as well. So then I can set this to done. Then I want to make it possible to edit a task. So again, we can go to the view, views.py, And we can copy all of this and paste it below here. Just say edit. Then we get this like we used to do. And I can copy this line to see if the form has been submitted. And if it has, so if name, then we say task.name equals name and task.description equals description. So we don't have to check if this is filled out, because then we just reset it to be empty. And then task.save. And then we want to return you back to the task. So I can copy this and paste it there. So we have the project ID, the to-do list ID. Now we can just pass in the primary key as well, so we'll be sent back directly to the task. If the form has not been submitted, then we can say return render request, pass in task/edit.html, and we pass in the task as well. So task, and save. So we can edit to the URLs, pass in edit there, replace and replace, and then we can activate the edit button URL, and then it's task:edit, and then we pass in task.project_id, task.todolist_id. So this is, by the way, how we can access the ID directly without doing a query in the database. And task.id. And I can say task.id because we are already using values from here, so this is already pulled from the database. So save and refresh. Click edit. Now we get the template does not exist again. But let's make a copy of the add. Copy, paste, save as edit.html, edit task, save changes, and then we need to pass in the value. So value equals task.name, and in the description, the description is passed in here. So task.description and save. So refresh. And then we have it here. Let's try changed just to see if it works. Yes, first task changed. Perfect. So then I can set this task to done. And then I just want to make it possible to delete tasks. So again, I can copy these lines, go down here, paste it and say delete. And when we have the task, we can just say task.delete. And then we return us back to not the task page, but the to-do list page. And save. Import it. And then we just replace, and replace. And in the detail page, we can activate this here. URL task:delete. task.project.id, task.todolist.id, and task.id, and save. So let's try it out. Delete. Then I was sent back to the to-do list, and there are no tasks. Task, blah blah blah. So now we have a task there again, and we know that the deleting is working. Perfect. Okay, so now we need... Okay, so now it's time to make it possible to upload files and connect them to a project. So let me just close everything here and open up models.py inside the project folder. And then we can create a new model here, class. We can call this project file, model.model. So we want an ID field, we also want a name field, and then the file. So we can just call this attachment since file is often used in Python and similar, so I don't want to override or crash with them. So models.file field. Now we need to specify where we want to upload this to. So upload to equals, and then the name of a folder, for example, project files. And this will be put inside the main folder of the project unless we specify it, and that is something I want to do. So in settings.py you can scroll down so we can find the static URL, set up the media URL, and I always like to use just media like this. And then we want to set the media root equals, and then we can say base dir, which is the project folder slash, and then just pass in media. So now Django will create a folder called media in the root of our project, and inside there this project files folder will be created, and the attachments will be uploaded into this folder. So we can use this string representation here as well. So then we can update the database. So just stop here, Python measured.py make migrations, and Python measured by migrate. Okay, so I can run the server, and then I want to make it possible to add this. So to do that, inside this project folder we can begin with the view. Then at the bottom here you can say login required def upload file request and the primary key for the project. Then we can get this project like that, just so that we have it, and then we can show the template now, just so that we get to the next step. And here we can say upload file.html, and yes, we can pass in the project in case we need it like that, and close it like that, save. And now we need to import this into the URLs file. So path uuid pk for the project, and then upload file views dot upload file name upload file, and save. So then on the project detail page we can add one more button. Here we can say project upload file, and then here upload file, and now we need to set the button. So we can call this, for example, slate. I think that is a gray color. Refresh. No, let's go into a project like that. Then we have the upload file, and if I click it I will get the template does not exist error. So let's create it. Copy this. Actually I just need this. Create a new file and save it as upload file.html. Upload file to, now we can say project.name, just so you know which project you actually are uploading to, and block. Great. And then maybe we should add some quotes around here. And to make it easy and use built-in functionality for Django, we're going to use a model form for this. So in the project folder we create a new file called forms.py. Now you can import the model form from Django. So from Django.forms import model form, and then we need to import the file attachment. So from .models import project file, and then we create the form itself. So class project file form, pass in model form. Now we specify something called class meta so that we can connect this to this model. So model equals project file, and which fields we want to use. So we want to have the name and also the attachment. This will be created automatically, of course, but I have noticed that I have no connections between these two. So let's add that before I do anything more. Project equals models dot foreign key up to the project and set the related name to files, and on delete models.cascade. So if we delete the project, we also delete all of the files. So let's save for now and run the make migrations again. Oops. Okay, I don't have a default on this, but I don't have anything in the database yet, so we can just say 1 and 1 and then migrate. So run the server. Nice. Okay, so the project will be added automatically or manually afterwards, so we don't want it in this list. Right now these are the only two required fields. So let's go back here and import the form we just created from .forms, import upload project file form. Scroll down and find the view. Form equals project file form. Send this to the front end so we can render it there. Form. And then I can go back here again. And then inside the upload file, we can say form method is post. Action should be the page we are on. And then we need to set the enc type to multipart form data. If not, files will not be submitted to the backend. And then the CSRF token. And then we can render the form very easy by just saying form.sp. So we get it as paragraphs. And then it's just a simple button. We can copy that from here, for example. Go back and save it like that. Save. So if I refresh now, I'll see the name field here, and then I can choose files to upload. Nice. Okay, so then I just need to handle the submission here in the backend. So to check this, I can just say if request.method is post, then I want to initialize the form again by saying form equals project file form, and pass in request.post, so we get the name, and request.files. And then Django will handle everything there for us. So you can just check if the form is valid. And if it is, then we can say project file equals form.save commit equals false, because we don't want to send this to the database, because if we do that it will crash because we haven't specified which project to save this for. So we need to say project file.project equals then the project up here, and then just project file.save. So now it will be saved in the database. And if it's not a post request, we initialize the form like this. And if this is saved, we want to redirect us back to the project. So return, redirect, and then we can say F, so we format this projects / and then the PK and close it like that. So now we should be able to test this. Template test. upload the front page, submit. Okay, so nothing is showing here, but that's okay because we haven't done anything. To actually show them, but we can check in the project folder if it is there. So in the Visual Studio Code, I can scroll here, I can see a media folder, project files, and frontpage.html. Perfect. That means that uploading is now working. And I can set this to done. And then I want to list out the files here on the project page. So I want to specify that this is to-do lists. So if I open up project.html, then I can change this to an H3 just to make things as correctly as possible. H2 class empty-6, and we can say text to XL to-do lists. Refresh, nice, and then below here we can have the same with files. Files, refresh, and now we have there, and then I just want to list out similar boxes like this. So I can copy this, and then for a project file in project.files. All, I think that was what we called it in models.py. Yes, files. So we want to use this related name to get them. Close that one and say and for. And then in here I can copy this and just replace it a little bit of this. So here we can say download file and say project file.name, remove the anchor tag there and there, and save. So if I refresh now, you'll see that here we have the template test, and then I want to make this clickable so we can download the file. So let's change this to anchor tag instead. And then I think here I can say project file dot attachment dot URL and target blank, because we don't want this to open in the same file, in the same tab. So if I click this now, I'll be sent to a new tab. You can see here that this is correct, but since we are on a development server, this is not working, so we need to do something inside the URLs file. So open up urls.py in the Pizarra folder. So this is then the main URLs. And then we need to import two things from Django. From from Django.conf import settings. And I keep forgetting what I need to specify this. So Django URLs media. I think that is correct. So we already set these two in there. So let's copy this. Paste it there from django.conf.urls.static import static. So that's just to configure a URL. Copy this and append it to the URLs pattern. So first we just set the URL and then we point to where on our server this is. So if I now go here where I go to 404 and refresh, I will now see this template. Perfect. So that means that now listing files is possible. So we can set this to done, and then the next step is to make it possible to delete files. So if I then just go to views.py, then we can copy these 3 lines, paste it at the bottom here, say delete file, and then this should be renamed to project ID, but that will crash with the URL. So let's just add file ID instead. Then we can say project file equals project file, or project.files.get primary key is file ID. So now we just use this project to get all of the files, and specifically the one with primary key is the one we get from the URL. And I can say project file.delete, and then redirect us back to the project page and save. So then we just need to import it into here, replace with delete file. Now let's just say delete, but we want to prepend here a UUID called file ID. So I think this will be the cleanest way to do this. If not, we had to change project ID and then primary key. Yes, let's do that. That makes a little bit more sense. So project ID and PK. Replace this with PK and replace this one with project ID. So now we get the project and then the file based on the PK. So I think that makes more sense now. So delete file and then delete file. So here where we have this download file, we can also have a delete button. Delete, and here we want to use the URLs for this, or URL project:delete file, pass in project.id, and the project is available as you can see up here, and then project file.id and close. Now we can remove this and save. So refresh. Now I have the download button and then the delete button. You can add a little dash, sorry, a pipe to separate them a little bit. Now we can try to delete this. Does not exist. Okay. So what is missing? We have both the project and the file. So why is that not working? Project ID, primary key for the file. Maybe I need to say, or just let me see the error again. Project file matching query does not exist. The print project.files.all, just to see that there are something connected to this. So I refresh, and you can see here that the query set is empty. But if I go back, okay, so now it's gone because the deleting worked. Okay, so when did it work? Let's try this again. Primary key. Okay, so it was the refresh, sorry, the redirect that didn't work. This should specify project ID instead. So save. And then we can try again. Upload file, name, just give it something random to test. Submit. And then we have this here again. I can try to delete it, and then I'm back here and the file is gone. Perfect. So now this is also working, and save. So then we can start working on notes for projects. So just like we have uploaded files for projects, I want to make it possible to create notes for simple documenting things, adding descriptions to things and similar. So we can just keep this in the same app as the project as well. So I just want to close a little bit things here. Like that. So let's find models.py and create the model for this. So class project note models.model. Then I can copy these three, paste, and then a body. I think it makes more sense to call this body than the description, because it's the body of the note and not the description of what the note actually is. But it's still a text field, so let's copy this. And we can copy the string representation and rename this to notes and save. So then we can update the database, make migrations and migrate. So we can run the server again, and then we can create the view for this. So we just want to add the comment here, files, and then below here we can have notes, and then we have the login decorator, and then def create note, pass in request, and then the project ID. Yes, project ID. So that makes more sense, and I think also up here we should rename this to project ID and do it in the URLs. So let's just do it so it's done, project ID, because primary key can be mistaken that you think it's connected to the file. So project ID and project ID. So this can be saved. Go to URLs and rename it there as well. So now all the PKs here are connected to the project. Project ID here is connected to the file instead. So that's a little bit cleaner. And then we get the project from the database. And then we can just show a form, or show a template for now. Return render request, pass in project slash, and then add note.html, pass in the project we are on, project, and save. So if we want to do, we could use forms for this as well, which might be the smartest thing to do when you think about security, but since this is just a personal project that I'm going to use, I'm not going to do that. So then we can import this to the URLs. So just like we have upload file, we can copy and paste and rename upload file to add underscore note, add note, and add note. I think I call this create note, but let's call it add note instead. Save, and then on the project detail page we need one more button, and actually I think I should just copy this from there and paste it down here with this, so it's connected to there instead. So if I refresh now, I have the upload button there. Just need some spacing on there, empty-6, refresh, and then we have the same with the notes below. So let me just copy these two, and then below this for loop and this div, paste it and say notes, refresh, and then we can replace this here with a create or add note, and this should be add note, and the project ID is like that. Refresh, and if I click it, I will get a new template does not exist error. Perfect. So let's go back and create that one. We can copy add.html, paste everything, and just save it as add underscore note.html. Replace the title with add note. Then we have name, but we also want the body instead of the description, and body. Save. So if I refresh now, we have the note and we have the body. Maybe we should make this a little larger. So we can say rows 20. So that is a little bit better for something like this. And then we just need to handle submitting this form. So here I can say if request.method equals post. Then we get the name, passing name equals request.post.getName. Default is to empty, copy and replace, then say body instead, and if name and body, because here we want both of them to be filled out, then we can create a new note. First you just want to import this model, so project note, and then I can say project note.objects.create, and here we want to specify the project, the name and the body. So project equals project as we have up here, the name is name and the body equals body. So then when this is done, we can redirect this back to the project page. So if you just do it like this and save, refresh, first note, add something to the body, scroll down and submit, then I have it like that. So I don't know if it did work, but since I was redirected, I guess it did work. So I can set this task to done, and then I want to list out all of the notes on the project page as well. So let me just copy this entire div that we have up here with the files. And then, no, actually, let's copy this one instead, since here is the description and similar instead of the download button. So paste it like that and say for note in project.notes.all. And this should show the note.name, and we can show the beginning of the body. So note.body, and pipe this into how to limit this, Django limit, template limit jars. So there should be a built-in filter for this. Limit, truncate words, truncate chars. Let's use that. And then we want, for example, 50 letters at most. So we don't have this detailed page yet, so we can save it like this. Go back and refresh there. Now we have the first note. Nice, with a short description. Perfect. So now we have the notes list. Next up then is the detail page for the note. So we copy this here again, paste it as a note detail, and then primary key, and then we get the note by saying note equals project.notes.get, where primary key is primary key, which we get from the URL. And then we can return the template like that, note detail, pass in the project and also the note, and save. So if I now import this to the URLs, I can copy this, and then here I can say UUID colon note, not note ID but PK, and then note detail, and the name also note detail. So save, then we can activate this button here, URL project colon note underscore detail project.id and note.id. Let's see if this works. Click, and yes, it does work. You just get a new template does not exist error. So then I can copy this, create a new file, save it as note underscore detail.html, close the end block, and say note.name and show the body here instead. So note.body and save. Save refresh, we get the note title and then the body. Perfect. So that means that now I can set this task to done. Oops. And then I just want to make it possible to edit the note. So here we can say note edit, like that, note underscore edit, and save. Import here. And then we say edit. Problem now is that this is very similar to the URLs for the files. So here we can prepend notes and notes, just so they are separated from each other. Maybe also they should have files. And this can also be files slash upload file or just upload, and files slash, notes slash add. And now Django will fix this for us. I don't have to do anything else because now you see here this was added automatically from Django because we are using this URL function here. Okay, so let's continue with the editing. If I just go to project detail here, and then I can make a copy of these two buttons, paste. We don't have a delete page yet, but we have the edit page. So note underscore edit, we pass in the project ID and the note.id. So if I go into that, whoops, note edit, not correct. Sorry, this was supposed to be note underscore edit, and use the view note edit, of course, like that. So now refresh again, and then I get the new template does not exist. It's okay. Just copy the add note content, paste and save it as note underscore edit.html, edit note, and then we need to pass in the value here, value, note.name, and here note.body, and the button can say save changes instead, save, refresh, that we have it there. So I just need to handle when the form has been submitted, and I can copy these lines because I want this very simple validation here as well. Then we can say note.name equals name, note.body equals body, and note.save, and then we can return us to the project page, I think. Save. So just refresh, changed, and save. And then if I scroll down, this hopefully says changed. Yes. So now we have the possibility to edit notes as well. Then it's just a matter of making it possible to delete them. So copy these lines and say note delete, and then note.delete, return and redirect us back to the project page, save. Then we just need the URLs and we are done. Sorry, I need to fix the button as well, but yes. Note delete, save. And then we need to fix this button. So just copy this, paste it, and say note underscore delete. So if I go into this now, click delete, then I was redirected back here, and the note is gone. Perfect. So now that task is done as well. Okay, so now we are going to head over to deployment, and we're going to deploy this to Acorn. So to do that, you need a GitHub account, and when you have a GitHub account, which is totally free, you can create a new account on acorn.io as well. Okay, so let's go to the browser and just close a few of these tabs. So I want the project running here. So let's go to acorn.io. And then if you're interested in reading about them, you can find a lot of information here, what they offer and similar. And if I go to the pricing page, you can see that for personal project it's free and what it includes, and that after 2 hours it will be stopped and deleted and you have to start all over again, but this is just for testing. You also have the Pro plan, which costs $10, but since we're in a beta, you can request a free access here and you will have that until they go live, which I think will be in March or April of 2024. Okay, so let's sign in. So log in. Sign in with GitHub. Then I need to sign into my GitHub account. Okay, here's just some old projects, so just want to delete this. Yes, so now it's gone. So according to my to-do list, the first thing to do is to set up something called a requirements file. And this should be located in the main folder, Pizarra. So let's create requirements.txt. And this should say what Django version we are using. Django equals 5.0. So 2 equals like that. So now that we have this, we know that when we deploy this, that only this version of Django will be installed and nothing else. We also need something called environs, which is environment variables. The version for this is 7.3.1. And then we need a MySQL client so that you can use a MySQL database instead of SQLite 3. 2.2.0 and save. So we don't need anything more. So let's just set this to done. And then I need to create something called a Acorn file. And this should be here where we have the templates folder and the env folder and the Pizarra folder. Let's create it here, Acorn file with no endings. And then this has the same type of syntax as normal Dockerfile has, so it should be familiar if you know a little bit of Docker. So we specify a name, which can be Pizarra Project Management System. And we can have a description, the desk for the project, blah, blah, blah. And then we set up object arguments or args and pass in Django DB name. So what database name should be used? We can just say Pizarra DB like that. So there, and then we need to specify which services we are going to use. So services :db : new object like that. Which image of the database we are going to use. So grc, so cr.io. And it's not meant that you are going to remember all of this. If you want, you can go into the Acorn resources inside the documentation and you find everything here. So how to getting started, how to install this and similar. So you can also find this information that I'm filling out inside the documentation. So acorn.io/MariaDB, which is very similar to MySQL. It's just a different distro. v10.11.5-1. And then which services arguments we're going to use. Here we want to pass in the database name. So service args, new object. And then in here we specify db name : args, so I just point up to this list, .db, sorry, Django db name. So then the same name is here that we have up here. I think I should have a comma there actually. And then we want to specify which containers to use, and the containers is what we are used to deploy this project and to run Django in a Python environment. So containers :web. So this is then the name of the service, and this is the name of the container. Build, and actually I don't think I need this comma there, sorry. So build context ./Pissarra. So that's just the name of the project, Pissarra. And we also need to specify the Docker file we are going to use. So that is the next step. So then we specify ./Pissarra. And this name here has to match this folder name, which is the project folder, Docker file. And we're going to create this very soon. And then below the build we specify which ports that are going to be used. So ports publish 8000:8000/http, and if args.dev, so if it is a dev environment, create a new like this, there's :app ./Pissarra, which is also this name, and the name of this folder. And then here we specify the env environment variables to use, MariaDB_user. So then we specify at service.db, so let's talk to this one, .secrets.admin.username. Let's copy this, rename this to MariaDB_root password. So this values just comes automatically from up here, so you don't have to think about it right now. Admin.password, MariaDB, which host for this service. So then it's service.db.address, MariaDB port, so which port to use. So that's service.db.port.3306. And last but not least, we need to specify the database name. So the database. So this will then point to service.db.data.db name. And this is what we get from here, which is got from there again. So I think I can set this to, so I can save this now. Go to the to-do list, set this to done. Next I need to set up the Dockerfile. So then the Dockerfile is what's setting up the environment and similar on this Acorn image. So inside the Pissarra folder we create a file called Dockerfile, and this Dockerfile is the one we are pointing to here. And then we specify which syntax we are going to use. So that syntax equals Docker/Dockerfile 1.4, and which platform we're going to use. So from /platform equals build platform Python :3.10 -alpine as builder, expose 8000, so that you are exposing the port 8000, work there /app, and this there here is the one we are pointing to here. And then in here, sorry, below here is a run APK update, so that we are updating software on this image here. Run APK add, so we just need to install a few things. So here we can say pkg config and gcc. So there's a little bit of compilers and similar, muscle-dev, bash, and MariaDB dev. So, and don't worry if you don't have to go around and remember all of this, because when you have done it one time, you can just copy and replace. And then here, say copy requirements.txt, so then just copy this file into the folder called app in the work directory, and then run pip3 install -r requirements.txt. So then we tell this image to install everything from this file. No cache there. You might not need this, but it's just to make sure that everything is downloaded correctly. And then copy ./app. So remember this space. That means that we copy everything from here into that folder called app. And then cmd bash-c. So now we want to run Python here. I can actually cmd python 3 manage.py run server, and then the IP address 8000 and save. So I think that was it for there. We will see very soon if it is working. Done. I need to add one more task here. Configure settings.py. So I need to do a few small tweaks here. For example, up here in the allowed hosts, since we are using this IP address and similar, we need to specify which hosts that are allowed. So we just set the star there. So all hosts are available or allowed to use this here. And we need to specify a little change on the database. So you can just add a comment around this, so we have it for later if you want to work locally. Copy and paste below here. And then the engine that we want to use is django.db.backend.mysql. Then the name of the database is os.getenv, and pass in MariaDB underscore database, and this variable is something that we get from there. So now these are a little bit more secure than the default way that Django deploys. So you have to get a warning because OS is not defined. So we can import it here at the top, import OS, and scroll down, and here where we set the name, we also need to specify the user, so MariaDB user, and the password that we want to use, password, MariaDB password, and the host, MariaDB host, and then the port, MariaDB port. And all these fives are the one that we specified here, which comes automatically from here, and everything is just work magically here with Acorn. Did you install MySQL client? No, but I don't want to use this locally, so we can just stop this for now. And then we can deploy this to Acorn very easy by saying acorn dev.no it did not work because I haven't installed Acorn yet. So let's go to the documentation, CLI installation. You can install it using Homebrew or curl or scoop if you have Windows, or you can do it manually if you want to do that. I think I just want to use curl. That's easy to do, so just paste this, my password for my Mac user. So now this should download a simple client that I can use here in my terminal. And if I now just say acorn dev dot, no configuration has been provided. Try setting Kubernetes master environment variable. I think this is because I need to log in. So shell completion, don't need that, and not upgrade. Okay, so how can I log in? Getting started. So install and then Acorn login. Yes, okay. Acorn login. Then I'm redirected here. Acorn is logged in already, so I'll probably just be sent here. You can close this window and now log into Acorn.io. Stein succeeded. Perfect. Stein is then my name on GitHub, also my real name. So let's try to run this again. Acorn dev dot. Could not open Acornfile. Okay. Ls, I'm in the fail directory as the Dockerfile and requirements. So go up one. Try to run one more time. Acorn dev dot, which is the folder that I'm in. So now this will start up and hopefully work. So this is very typical Docker things. Creating a new container, make sure everything is running and similar. So now it's running the install as you saw in the Docker file. Okay, so now this is setting up, it's pushing, copying to the app folder, trying to run things. So now the name is set to solitary moon, pending, so things is waiting. It's not ready yet. Not ready. That can be because I have done something wrong. No, it looks like it continued. Initializing database, so now it's setting up the database. Temporary started. So a lot of things is happening here now, but it's still not ready. So I think if I go here now into the Acorn, you can see here the Pizarra Project Management is up here. So the database looks like it is running for 1.9 hours more. Here I can see statistics if I wanted to do that. I can see some information about the database, similar. And same thing if I open up this container, which is the Django project. You can see here name of the Dockerfile, a little bit of the project, the environmental variables that has been set. So it's still just waiting. Maybe I have done something wrong somewhere, because this usually goes very quick. Container web not ready. Okay, let me see if there are anything. Temporary server stopped, process done, ready for startup. So I should actually be able to click this, but I get the 404 because it is not running. Let me just try stopping it using Ctrl+C and running again. Okay, so it's still not working. I have to go over the code for these files to see that I have written everything correctly. So I see up here there is something wrong. Please remember to set the password, blah blah blah. I think it's because I just used the default password, but as you can see up here I couldn't connect to the MySQL server. So I just want to see that I wrote everything correctly inside the settings file as well. Okay, so I have a problem with the password, I think. And when I see in my settings file, I set MariaDB password, but I think it was supposed to be MariaDB root password. So let's replace save, and then this is automatically updating. Perfect. So now it says that the endpoint is there. So I can click this, then you see this URL, and then I'm at the login page, or the front page. So let's try to sign up. CRSR verification request aborted. So I get that does not match any trusted origins. So I think this is something that comes from new Django things. Because we are using SSL and HTTPS now, then I need to set this here. So I need to set the CSRF trusted origins. So let's go back to settings.py, and up here I can just set it like this again, I think. So now this is automatically updating. The value setting must start with the scheme, usually HTTP, but found. Okay. Okay, so maybe I just need to copy this address, go back, replace and save. So now it's updating again. So refresh, continue. That did probably not work now. Let's try one more time. Sign up. Okay. Did the URL change? No. Maybe I just need to take away that one. Refresh and try. Now it's loading. Table Bizarre does not exist. Okay, so the problem now is that the database hasn't been initialized, so we need to create a database script that can run the make migrations and migrate on the server. So inside this file here, sorry, inside that folder, I can say db-script.sh to make it the bash script. Okay, so first you just say that this is a bash script. And we sleep for 10 seconds just to make sure that everything is finished and we can run this in the background. Now we just say Python 3 manage.py migrate. We don't need to make migrations because all of this should already been created. So now we just need to tell the Acorn file to run this when the Docker file to run this here. So here we just say /db-script.sh, and then so when this is finished it will go to this one, and this needs to be runnable. So if I just go to the terminal, stop everything here, and then I need to make that runnable. So cd bizarre, then I have it here. So chmod +x ./db script, like that. And then we can try to deploy again. So now you can see here that this is actually running and that we get the to-do list and similar. So let's go back and refresh, continue. And now I was directed to the login page. So let's try to log in with the user I just created. And by the way, this URL should be able to be visited as long as it is running here, this one. So as long as this is running, this will also be running, and people can visit it and test it from other places around the world. So it looks like everything here is working. Nice. And that was it for this tutorial. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please hit like below. Remember to create a free account at Acorn and test this out for yourself. If you have any questions about today's code, feel free to leave a comment below and I will answer as soon as I can. See you in the next video.